Hey, Catherine.
Hey, Kino.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Such a pleasure to have you back on the show. This is the second show in the last 2 weeks we have had a guest come back and we've celebrated a friend anniversary because it's exactly
Oh,
1 year since you've been on the show.
oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So it's still morning by you.
It's actually about 1:14 right now.
Okay,
And for
so
you, it's
not
evening.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
evening.
yeah. Yeah, so we just passed same, 7:14.
Okay.
So one, yeah, yeah. So the same thing. But yeah, welcome back to the show. We got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
Completely different topic. I will link our previous chat to this episode, and it will be in the description, so people, listeners, can get to know you better and what was discussed on that episode. I will mention a few points that I do have here. And when I was putting these points together today, I was just thinking to myself, I've kept to the mandate of this podcast by keeping it so diverse. But it's
Yeah.
only when you start putting what I'm about to read out for listeners together that you realize, yes, you're keeping to the mandate. And it's crazy how many diverse topics, we can talk about in 1 hour. Crazy. And so the previous time you were on the show, we spoke about your diverse background, diverse Jamaican household with
Yeah.
Portuguese, Jewish, and Scottish
Yeah.
Jamaican heritage, by how your parents taught you to see people from the heart, not by race.
Yes.
We spoke about the challenges that your family faced with US race boxes after moving from England, and how your mother in law said current racial climate in America feels darker than the civil rights era. We
Yes.
spoke about your career path from a school teacher, then transition to publishing. You shared self publishing lessons. You spoke about your genre shift, how you moved from spiritual, devotional writing to crime action thriller with the fifth of the story, which
Yeah.
was the book that we spoke about and focused on 1 year ago.
Yeah.
You spoke about your character development, the book cover process. You spoke about your nonprofit work, proceeds from devotionals go to Light of the Future, a school in, is it Guatemalan?
Yes.
Guatemalan. I saw you still doing that.
Yes, I am. In fact, after this, I teach a class.
Nice. We spoke about the podcast that you host, Murder, Mystery, and Mayhem Laced with Morality.
Yes.
And end goal wants to be completely used up creatively, leaving nothing undone,
Right.
which for me is now like a great start to what today's conversation is about. So, for
Okay.
listeners, those are key points that you can learn about Captain on that episode, which will be in the description. So, since the last time we spoke, you have launched your own publishing house, which is called Dressed in Love Press.
Yes.
And I'm going to bring the logo up on the screen, and then you can go for it and you can tell us about it.
Sure. Hmm. Yep, there she is.
There we go.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so, so you want me to talk about the publishing company a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit?
Let's go. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Just in Love Press.
Yeah. So I founded it officially last year, but the truth is, I had been operating under that imprint for a devotional anthology that I would produce each year. And that devotional anthology would, you mentioned it earlier, that we would donate the proceeds to a nonprofit. We've donated to other nonprofits like Submersion 14 that is temporarily on a hiatus, but we have been diligent about contributing to Light for the Future, which is a school that I teach for in Guatemala. And the school is located in the middle of a landfill. It's a dump. And our families make a living by um, using whatever it is that they can find to recycle, to make new things and sell, and basically raising between $3 to $5 for their families each day to live on. So teaching in that school is really important, and our donations to them is significant and important. Uh, so I decided, oh, you know what? Some of our books have won awards, and we've finaled for some significant other awards. And I have been a production editor since leaving education as a principal. I've been working for, a number of years in the publishing industry, and especially as a production editor, which you are the last person that the book will go to before it goes out for publication. So I figured, hey, how hard can it be to open a publishing company? Well, famous last words, because I have never been so stretched before in my career ever. It is such a learning curve. And just because you are an editor and you're in publishing doesn't mean that you're going to know all of the ins and outs once you actually acquire a publishing company. They're just things that you just don't know. You wouldn't know. And I have dealt with things that are affecting our country, such as the tariffs. Gas prices are really high. And some people would say, well, what does that have to do with publishing? Well, it has everything to do with publishing, because that affects paper, the cost of paper, the cost of ink. It affects our relationship with outside people that we may have manufactured books for us. And now tariffs are so high, we can't afford it because it gets passed on to the owners. And all of these things do impact the publishing industry. We we also experienced the closing of Baker and Taylor, which was one of the hugest distributors of books, meaning that they actually create the books for publishers. So we lost that, right? And that's less competition. When we have less competition, then we have more expensive prices because we have less people to go to produce our books. So all of those things could not have foreseen. You couldn't tell. I could not have been able to know that. So I've gone into the publishing game excited but humbled because I found out there's a ton I do not know. So I'm really grateful to people like my publicist. I work with Mickey Mickelson from Creative Edge, and he's been instrumental in helping me navigate the changing terrain of the publishing industry. And then also being involved with organizations like ECPA, it's an Evangelical Publishing Association that really helps us see the trends in the publishing industry and helps us to build a community as a publisher, especially as a small startup company. And so they've helped us to navigate the terrain of the publishing industry. But I'm really passionate about helping emerging voices. So I'm a great fit for authors who have never published a book before, maybe authors who have published a book before, but they're still green. Maybe their publishing house closed because lots of publishing houses have closed. So people thought I was really crazy for opening one, but we're going for it. And so I'm also a good fit for someone who is that diverse, Black and brown people, indigenous people, people who have disabilities. I'm very passionate about making sure that we embrace our brothers and sisters who are disabled, if it's intellectual, if it's a physical disability, whatever it is. I'm really passionate about helping those. And I'm also passionate about people who feel like they're too old, they've missed the mark, they won't be able to have a chance to publish. I'm like, no, like I know you're in your 70s, but you can do it. You got this. Or maybe someone who's really young and they feel, well, I'm so young, my voice doesn't matter. If you have the talent and the drive, I want to come alongside you and help make your dream come true.
Yeah, that's so empowering. you and I are like on the same frequency about why we actually got into what we do, you
Yeah.
know, because you got the mainstream guys, okay, in the creative industry. And when I talk about the creative industry, it's authors, musicians, illustrators. We know the mainstream guys, okay,
Yes.
who are signed to these big publishing houses or massive, the top 5 record labels in the
Yeah.
world. But then you also have the independent space who are just as talented as the guys on top, but they just never gotten an opportunity. And I still see it today in the music industry globally that independent artists are still chasing the fancy 360 record label deal. And I'm like, no, you don't need to chase that any longer.
Yeah.
There's independent houses now, such as us,
Yeah.
that you can come to. And as you said, to give you that opportunity to show your work to the world.
Yes.
So well done to you. Well done to you on offering this opportunity for that space in the book industry. For me, it's definitely needed. Yeah, you did take a jump, but you took the jump with a leap of faith. And honestly, it is working out for you, not just based on what I've read and what you just said, so what you said so far, but I've also had the pleasure of interviewing and chatting to authors that are signed under you.
Oh
You
my
know,
goodness, that's wonderful.
So yeah, I mean,
That's
I've had
excellent.
Mums on the show. I've had Edwina on the show. I mean, Edwina had so much great stuff to say about you as well, and you know how she got this opportunity and why she also does what she does. To also give, as you said, brown and black people an opportunity. And I remember one thing that she said, you know, about what an amazing feeling it is, like for an author to walk in and be like, wow, there's actually, a person of color,
Yeah.
who's involved in editing and involved in publishing. And she said that should never exist before. It was never there before, you know,
Yeah.
and the passion. But all the authors are great, but I don't want this to be like it's a favorite thing. Samantha. Samantha was like, wow, I had her twice on the show and we built such a good relationship. And she was also helping me out with a few things as well, that I could do better on my end. And she became an Amazon bestseller, you know?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, so that must have been a proud moment for you.
Yes. Her book, Prodigal Son, is became an Amazon bestseller, and her book, The Lakeshore Secret, comes out in October, and so we have great expectations for that book. It's really good. And Edwina's book, it has been trending as a high performing book for young adults. And originally, when I acquired the manuscript, we didn't really see that. But as I was editing it, I said, "This is really YA. This is not really women's contemporary fiction." So, as an editor, you have to understand where your client's books really fit, and sometimes they're fuzzy about it, but you are seeing the big picture, you're seeing the trends, and you understand genre. So I was like, no, this is YA, and it's really doing well in that genre.
Yeah, nice, nice. Yeah, well, once again, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what your authors are doing and what they're accomplishing. And honestly, you are definitely going in the right direction. Like you said, now people wondered, why are you starting a publishing house when so many are closing down? But honestly, I, for me, I feel like you just found the right, niche, the right market.
Yeah, yeah,
And when it comes to values and principles, I can see that, you as head of the publishing house and the authors, all of you are on the same frequency. You all
yeah.
share the same values and principles. And
Right.
even though they may be the authors and you may be the editor and publisher, everyone is working together. And when you're so in sync, like what could go wrong, right? And one thing with all of you is you always going forward with God, and that is so important, you know. that day is so important. Like if you put God first, like when you start your day,
Yeah.
if you start your day with prayer, with meditation, and just that connection with God each and every single day, things do fall into place.
Yes. Yeah.
Not just jumping into the hustle and grind of the day and expecting everything to just be all great, throughout the day. It's not
Yeah.
how I would suggest you start your day.
Yeah. No, you made a really good point that as a believer, it's super important to start your day with prayer, reading the word, and it makes a difference. And in the early months of the company growing, and I feeling the weight of producing other people's books. It's one thing to have your own, but I feel a different kind of stress for producing somebody else's book. It's almost as if I would give another person more attention and do more be more intentional because I don't want to fail someone, especially when they're launching their first novel, their debut. And so I had to check myself because I was getting up and checking my text messages and my emails, and I was getting off centered. And I had to go back to no, I've got to start my day with prayer. I've got to center myself, give God the glory, because without Him, I wouldn't have the gift of the publishing company. I wouldn't have the amazing authors that I partner with. And so I needed to turn things back around. And so I've been doing that and been really intentional about spending time with God in the mornings before I dive into my day.
Yeah, the key word you mentioned there, partnership.
Mhm.
I love that. You have a partnership with your authors.
Yes.
Not like that's a totalitarian sort of organization, and we're going to be like, Edwina, no, this is how you're going to do it. Sam, no, I don't like that. Do that. It's a partnership.
Yeah. Yeah.
Work together to make this a success,
Mhm.
and it will be a success not only for the publishing house, but also for your book and your
Right.
career.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love that.
Mhm.
That autonomy, you know?
Right. Yeah. So they
Yeah.
so I know about my experience working with a traditional publisher and also working as an editor, as a freelance editor for other traditional publishers. I want my authors to still have a hands-on experience where we're different and set apart from other publishers where myself and my project manager we're accessible. You can reach us by phone and email. We have a quick turnaround and when we get back to our authors. And if we don't, they should understand there's something going on because we try to really get back to them and include them in a lot of the decisions. Like, for instance, you talking about the partnership. Yeah. So even in a book cover, I want my authors to be really invested in their book. So their book covers are super important. And we spend a lot of time in making sure that they love their cover and they have as much input as possible. So all those things help to create a really good experience for our authors. Do we get it right all the time? No. I mean, I had a recent snafu last month. I was releasing my first children's picture book, and I was nervous about it because even though I teach art, I've been in a number of art shows and exhibits, even sold pieces. There's something about putting your artwork into a book where you're really feeling very vulnerable. And I'm like, oh man, are people going to really take me seriously? Well, the first prints of the book had a corrupt file in it. And so people received the book before it was published. They pre-ordered it. And I was thankful for that because the inside was crazy. It looked totally normal on the outside. And when you opened it, it was just jumbled. It was all messed up. And so I had to rush to correct that after after the fact. So it taught me that I must every single time we redo a book or we do a book, I have to have a actual print that I get a physical print of the book before I release it. So just things like that, you start learning.
Yeah. Before I move on, what you mentioned about tariffs, 100%, people don't pay attention to that. I remember last year, when this whole tariff war actually started, even musicians were getting affected with their merchandise
Yeah.
because of the tariffs.
Right.
So it does impact an artist. We think, oh no, we just, making music, everything is all cool, or we just writing books. But
Yeah.
everything that happens politically, globally, it does affect each and every single person. So
Yes.
100% correct. So in a world that's so fast paced, now being an independent creative, it's an all in one job. You
Yeah.
know, it's not like, okay, I'm the publisher or I'm the publicist, so I am going to do it all. You
Yeah.
still have to invest a lot into your career daily.
Yeah.
How do you make it work with your authors of, okay, I need to spend time, working on my craft, writing, because once a book is out, of course, an author wants to jump on to the next one, ideally,
Mhm.
but then I still have to also be able to market myself each and every single day.
Mhm.
I still have a responsibility in that area. How
Mhm.
do your authors now, work around this? Are they managing, you know, given that you also got a hectic schedule yourself and you have to also, prioritize your own branding and marketing that comes
Right.
with, running a publishing house and also try to keep them balanced as well?
Yeah. That is probably one of the hardest things in the publishing industry. I have a family. I still have a daughter
Mm.
in school at home, and a very big family, and I have a grandson and a husband, and then you have your church, and you have your friendships and your relationships that you need to nurture, which are very important. Of course, you have your faith to nurture, and as an owner of a publishing company, I'm an author as well, and so I have deadlines for other places that I write for, several blogs and magazines, and I've got constant deadlines. So I have to manage my time really wisely. And one of the things that I do that's a carryover from my career as an administrator is in the beginning of the day, more often than not, so 90% of the time I'm doing that. I have a journal, and I write down the scripture for the day that I'm reading, what stood out to me, and I write down what I'm thankful for. That's super important. And then I write down the major goals that I have for that day. And I use that as a blueprint to man my day. And if I don't get to everything on my goal list, then I carry over to the next day. And what we do is we talk a lot about marketing to our authors and about balancing their time and making sure that it's not just about writing the book, but it's also about marketing. In fact, it's about 20% writing and 80% marketing in order to
Yeah.
successfully sell your book. And I recently created an addendum for them to show them the realities of the publishing industry. And the addendum is sort of depressing because they're seeing, like, okay, I have to sell about 500 copies of my book for me to begin seeing royalties, right? And so, out of all the authors that I have, I'm excited that two of our authors are going to be earning their first royalty check, which is super exciting. As a new publisher, you want them to get to that point and to consistently sell and market. And those authors are the ones who are out there doing the work. They're managing their families, they're managing their writing careers, and they're also managing marketing, which is a hard thing to pull off, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard thing to pull off. you know, both of us can talk from experience. It's
Yeah.
definitely a hard thing to pull off. Those overwhelming moments. What to do. It's like even though the night before you can plan out. Okay, this is what I am going to do tomorrow. You know, 70 to 80% of the time it never works out that way.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
it never
Yeah.
it really, really doesn't, like once again, personal experience. Like it's so hard for me these days to find that time to sit down and work on the next track that I want to push out to the market. You know,
Ah,
you do it in bits and pieces. You do it as you said, that 80-20 rule. Because now 80% of your day goes, okay, I need to do this today. I need to do that today. I need to post this today. I need to get that out today, you know? And then you think, okay, 20% of today, I'm going to focus on my artistic life. And then that 20% just never comes out of the you know?
2 to 5% lately. It's been in terms of my own writing. It's been terrible. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you also don't want to overwork yourself because, I want to get rest. I want to detach. I want to wake up tomorrow morning feeling fresh, because I don't want to go tomorrow morning into my morning prayer and I'm like, so half asleep. You know? Because I'm not giving like God full attention. And, I don't want it to be that way. Just recently, and this happens to me every single year. And I take accountability for it. I blame myself for it all the time. It does happen because I do not give myself that 1 week, at least every quarter, to detach just from it all so I can recuperate. And then what happens is my body says, okay, Kino, look, if you're not going to take that time out, we're going to do it for you. And that's what happened. So 2 weeks ago, it actually started 3 weeks ago, but then I like fully recovered, I would say early last week. It just hit me, my body just like shut down. And then I needed to force myself to detach. I just had to like rest it out for 1.5 weeks. And whatever was important to do, I did it. I showed up and I did whatever podcast I needed to do, but then I was back in the bed after that and I was just chilling out. I had to give myself that time. So, I mean, health is a priority. Health is, I know there's so much pressure being in the independent space when you're not signing. Okay, there's still pressure when you sign to a traditional publisher as well. But I mean, there's so much pressure. And, what goes on up here is like so bad at times because now say, okay, I want to give myself a timeout. But no, you're lying in the bed and you're thinking, oh no, but I could be doing this and doing that. And I need to, you know, that's what happens. I'm sure you can relate. In the bed, it's daunting, actually.
It is daunting. You're right. And I had to really take a step back, just like you said. You stress yourself out to a point where it becomes unhealthy. And like you said, your body will do it for you if you don't do it for yourself. My issue is migraines. Like I'm shut down if I have a horrible migraine, and my body will tell me it's time to rest, it's time to take a break. And so, um, right now, I am dedicated to swimming in the morning. I'm grateful I have a pool and I have a dog who, this is crazy. We play a game of catch and fetch in the pool. He's a German Shepherd. So I sling his waterproof balls across the pool and he jumps and he gets in quite a bit into the pool to grab his ball and then he brings it back. I mean, it's so cathartic because I'm not really thinking about anything else but being in the water, enjoying the beautiful weather, uh, listening to the birds, looking at the trees and the flowers growing, and dealing with this hilarious dog who has taught me how to play a game of catch and fetch in a pool.
Yeah. But I'm sure that must be like so de-stressing, just having a bit of joy in the morning with the dog. So, you started just in Love Press, with great principles, great values, a strong mandate, and you offering all these amazing opportunities to all these amazing, talented authors. There are so much to share with the
Mhm.
world. But from a business point of view right now, I'm sure you want to become a dominant, independent house in the field in the future to come. So, how big is Catherine's goals?
Yeah, so my goals are very hefty. Yeah, and I have a vision board that I keep in my closet in my office that I can take out and check it out every week. and keep my focus on those big time goals. So my goal is for our books to become New York Times bestselling books. That and I really do want my authors to prosper through writing, and it is difficult to do, but it is doable. And so I encourage myself by looking at the trends, looking at authors who are successful, looking at what they do, what are they writing, what kind of audience do they have, and there's lots of trial and error for us. So in terms of big, I dream really big, and I would love for our books to become movies. And I am dreaming about things like Broadway plays. I love plays. I'm a playwright. My dream is to write a Broadway play one day, or many, and to just color outside the lines, to do things maybe that's a little unorthodox or different from other people, and to really provide a thriving space for my authors where we can really build like a family, and we can network and help each other. So I'm pushing my authors, hey, you don't have to be on this person's launch team, but we're part of the same publishing house. So it doesn't hurt to, if you have a decent sized platform, to let everybody know that this author's book is coming out, or this author's book is on sale right now, or this author has a speaking engagement. So I really am working on encouraging our authors to network within the organization and to help each other with whatever strengths they have. They can help others. Like you mentioned, Sam and Edwina. Sam is really a great social media guru. And so I encourage her to work with other authors. It's okay if she gets paid for it, that's fine. Edwina is an incredible writing coach, she's an incredible speaker. So they get to work with other authors. If other authors have a need and they have a strength, we try to make sure we network and connect in house. And that's very important to us. We have lots of talent in house. And so we really want each author to take that into consideration and to benefit from the family of writers that they belong to.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's
Mhm.
powerful. Wow. And I mean, in a world that's so divided and where jealousy and envy reigns so high these days, to get that right with your internal team,
Yeah.
the fast stretch, it's an ambitious goal, but you have accomplished that, you know, which is wow. And what about going international? You ever have ambitions about that, bringing in international authors?
Yes, that would be fantastic. I already have many connections internationally through the podcast. I've featured tons of authors all over the globe. And I would absolutely love the opportunity to work with someone internationally. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to managing, the whole distribution process, so you doing it all, all falls under your responsibility.
Yeah. So with us, we use Ingram Spark is one of our distributors, and Ingram Spark is they're not the publisher, but they're the ones who produce the book, and they also present the book to retailers. So once our books are published, it has it is accessed by librarians, bookstore owners, um, all kinds of places. So we never really know where the book is going to be picked up until after it's published, and then we go and we find out. Oh, okay. So this author's book is at Books a Million. It's at Walmart. It's at Target. Okay. This book is being picked up in on Amazon, and then we also work independently with Amazon, right, for our local markets. So there's no conflict. So Ingram Spark is like our international place where books are picked up. I just noticed a couple of my authors' books were picked up by retailers in Australia, which is super cool. And and so that combination seems to be a sweet spot because Amazon is it's global, right? If the book is produced also by Amazon, then it gets to go out to all kinds of places because every country has their own little Amazon. So
Mm.
that's how we distribute our books, and we encourage our authors to also go to their local bookstores and petition to get their books in there. And we help them with the sell sheet, and we create an invoice, and we can work with local bookstores as well.
Yeah. And when it comes to, as you mentioned, authors getting out there like physically, do you as a publishing house, do you also like do certain events here, there with all the authors?
Yeah, so I have done a few events with authors. We have last year we were at a women's retreat, and my project manager came out to help, and two of my authors were there, and my books were there as well. And so that was a beautiful collaborative event, and it's really good. We sold a lot of product that was excellent. And the beginning of this year, myself and one of our authors, we again went to a writers festival. We didn't so much sell a lot of books, but it was a good way to network. And so we always have to think about it that way. Okay, so I didn't really sell a whole lot of books, but the networking opportunities that I got are invaluable. So I'm going to be on this podcast, and now this person is in my friend group, and later on we can work together. And then coming up in the end of May, there's a massive, it's the largest Christian writers conference in the entire country. It's called Blue Ridge Mountain Christian Writers Conference. And a ton of our authors are going to be there. So we'll have all of the books from our press there to represent our company. So yes, we do have times where we collaborate. And then we have, there's another event happening called Right to Publish. And one of our authors is going to be taking books there and representing the rest of the group. So yes, those opportunities are wonderful. It never negate the opportunity to sell in person. It's very strong because people are sort of they connect with you first, then they decide to buy your book. It's usually not, oh, let me see that book. They usually have some kind of connection with you, meeting you face to face.
Yeah. Yeah, people still underestimate the power of networking.
Yeah.
They really, really do. It's not just about, as much as we would love to sustain ourselves financially with our work, yes, that is a major goal for any artist around the world. But there's so much value, in other components of what you do. You know, if you're gonna go in with the mentality, let's just say you're starting off and it's going to be a mentality all about the money. It's all about the money. If it's not about the money, I don't want to be involved. You're not really gonna get that far,
Yes.
right? You're not. We all had to do a lot of stuff for free once upon a time.
Oh yeah.
Like, man, God, still have to do stuff for free. I can't even like say just like in the past tense, like the
Yeah.
amount of DJing I had to do for free, to get my name out there, you know, and you still have to do stuff for free. And I'm probably still going to do a lot of stuff for free, in this journey that I'm in right now. But that just comes with it because you just never know who you're going to meet, as you mentioned, that's going to lead you here, and then that person is going to lead you here. I was explaining this to another author, but it wasn't on the podcast. We're actually friends, and we were having a chat.
Yeah.
And I told him I would have, okay, I've always been a big dreamer, but I would have never imagined like how far I could actually get with that
Yes.
mentality, this mentality that I just explained to you now, because I was using, South African creatives as an example about how there's still so much fear about taking a risk. Now, no risk, no reward. I highly believe, you know. And I was telling him about how so many people are still afraid when something is costing you and it's costing you in dollars, but they're scared. It's dollars. I can't pay for that, And I was telling him, in 2020 when COVID hit and I had to rebuild, you know, I came across a guy called Rick Barker, who was the former manager of Taylor Swift, and he was an educator now for independent musicians. And I was like, I came across him on Instagram, and he's got this course, and I just went for it. I never think twice about it. I went for it, and I paid for the course. I did the course. It led to another course. That course led me to connecting with someone else in the industry, and this someone else in the industry works with all these major artists out there that I used to admire growing up. And I ended up getting involved in his community, and then I started networking in his community, started, taking on his courses. And next thing you know, I'm working with all these people globally, and I'm like, whoa, what just happened here? And that was networking. That was networking. Podcasting, same thing. I started off myself, and then one thing led to the other. It took a couple of years, but then I started a network, and I met Mickey, then we connected. And yeah, look, Catherine and I are talking today. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
so important.
Yeah, it is.
Larger macro goal of,
Mhm.
100%
That's how I,
agree with you. Like,
yeah, that's how I met Mickey. I started the podcast right around, like you said, COVID. And not knowing what I was doing. And I took a bunch of courses in podcasting and until I just took the leap of faith. But I met this guy called James L. Hill. He owns Rock Hill Publishing. And I interviewed him on my
yeah,
podcast.
I know it.
Okay,
Yeah,
James.
yeah. Yeah, I also had him on the show. Yeah, yeah.
I call him my big brother. And because of that podcast episode, Mickey listened to it and he enjoyed it so much. He approached me and said, "Hey, can I send you my whole client list?" So, me being naive, said, "Oh, sure, no problem." Well, I was in podcast purgatory for like the next month. And in 1 month, I had like 2 years worth of material. And so I was doing like double episodes on Sunday to be able to crank out all of that material that I had. But it was a great experience. First of all, I learned to be careful about just saying, yeah, send me everybody. But it was a great thing that happened because I made so many connections in the industry and it built such credibility. Then I began being approached by people in the marketing departments for the big five. So I have a relationship with each of those marketing departments, and they will call me up and send me their authors who write in thriller, mystery, that kind of those kind of genres to be on the podcast. So, like you said, never negate networking and taking a leap of faith, even though the risks might be high, scary, but you said no risk, no reward.
Yeah, yeah. But what you just said, I think every podcaster, when they were starting off, the same thing happened to them. It happened to all of us, right? Until you just get into this, this motion that actually works for you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's like social media. If you're marketing yourself as a creative on social media, you're gonna jump all over the place.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. And then what I evaluated for myself after jumping onto every single platform, okay, no. Let me pin it down now to like 3 that's going to work for me because it really does work for me. That's what the data is telling me. So I'm not going to be all over the show anymore. I'm just going to focus on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yeah.
You know, let me focus on that. And that's something I also just try to tell anyone out there. It's cool. Go test out,
Mm-hmm.
see what works for you. Because if TikTok is working for Kino, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for Catherine. And if
Right.
LinkedIn is working for Catherine, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for me. Our audiences are different. So, what's the data telling me? And that's so important for creators to look at the data. And let's be honest, there's a lot that don't. You know, they just put stuff out there, they don't look at the data. So, who are you really marketing to? You know, audience is so important and it keeps coming up. I had another author on the show recently. I mean, he's an author that has a six-figure deal. He's doing extremely well and he's so humble. And we were talking, about because marketing always does come up, marketing, networking, how to become Amazon bestsellers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Always comes up.
Yeah.
Or whether you want it to or not, whether it's on the agenda or not, it will come up in the conversation. And he was like, there's nothing magical that I'm really doing because the perception is from someone on the outside, oh look, he's doing something magical, you know, but not really doing anything magical. And when I start to connect the dots, chatting to author after author or publisher or PR agent, whoever it may be, it comes down to basic human, you know, capabilities that we all have, being disciplined, being consistent, being passionate about your work, willing to put in the work each and every single day, willing to go that extra mile, willing to go for that event, even though I'm going to get nothing out of it. But let's see what's new of it. Let me go set up a table outside a coffee shop, with my books laid out and just see who walks past and let me see who stops and says, hello, yeah, let me check this out. Why not? Take the risk.
Yeah. That's exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't pay off. Like I said, my author was so she spent so much money preparing for this one writers festival that wasn't very well attended. But I said, even if you got a couple of people to sign up for your email list and you made a connection, you just have to take continue to take risks. It's not always going to pay off the way you think it will, but consistency does pay off. I love that you said that. And even with the podcasting, there's so many podcasters that I met who they're sporadic. They're like, well, I haven't produced an episode in a while. When you're going to lose listeners. Listeners, if they like a product, they're going to depend on you to be consistent. So no matter where I am in the world, and my family, we love to travel. We're always somewhere. They know mom has to get her podcast out for Sunday. It has to go out. Doesn't matter where I am. And so that is built on just practicing to be consistent no matter what. Even if you're like, really, I think 10 people just listen to this episode. You don't know when that an episode can go viral. You don't know when your next guest could become a New York best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author, a number one Amazon bestseller, and that all helps your platform. So being consistent, networking, showing up, being kind. It doesn't take anything to just be nice to people. To be nice. There's so many people that they practice to burn bridges and they could be incredibly talented, but their attitudes, it's a turn off. And in the publishing industry, the world gets really small and people talk. So it's really important to be a person who of integrity, to be consistent, to be kind, to build bridges, not walls.
Nice. Well said. Wow. Wow. Such an inspiration.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're reaching the top of the hour, and there's one concern that's happening now in the industry. I'm not sure whether you have experienced this or not yet, or your authors have experienced this, but it has become like a concern, and the amount of scammers that are out there at the moment and scamming that's actually happening, and it's happening to everyone. Now, authors are getting emails from random people saying we can do certain things for you, book clubs. We can
Yeah.
put you on this online magazine. It's going to cost you $2,000. And people are falling for it. People are falling for it. So has this happened to you, any of the authors? And if so, how would you deal with it? Or how have you dealt with it?
Yeah, we talk about that. We in our meetings with authors, whether it's a group meeting or individual meeting, and we encourage authors to let us know if to talk to us about an email they received or an opportunity, and we'll be able to check it out. My husband's he's a technical guru of our company, and he can go on and figure out if it's a legitimate company or platform or not. More than often, it is not. If someone just cold calls you and says, "Oh, we just think your book would be so fabulous for a book club," and just pull your name out of a hat, it's usually a scam. So that's why we encourage our authors to hire a publicist, and that publicist is the person who is going to be sure that you're not scammed. Every opportunity that they work on getting for you is something that's been vetted already. So you don't have to worry about these cold calls of people just emailing you out of the blue. That's one that's really popular right now. One of them that's really popular are targeting authors who have attended a conference or are going to attend a conference and they want to sell you the attendee list. It's a scam. Another thing that they do is they want to invite you to these book club platforms, another scam. So anything that seems too good to be true, or you've got to pay money up front to be part of it, just watch out. It's a scam, and that's why there's you have to be careful about these get rich quick kind of schemes. And just know that old fashioned networking, even if it's virtual and you're building your platform on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever, that it's organic and that you are dealing with people who have been thoroughly vetted, because authors are often targets of scams. And it's really sad. A lot of people have lost money, lots of money, feeding into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone else I recently spoke to also, got scammed with Goodreads and Goodreads reviews, and it was a couple of $100. And whoever the person was said, look, I can, boost your Goodreads page. I don't know how they went about that, or because I mean, from a marketing point of view, how are you boosting your Goodreads page? And I can bring you in reviews and so on. So, I mean, people don't know better, and especially if you're so vulnerable and you want to get your name out there, you want to get your book sold, and he went for it. And then the last time I spoke to him, he told me, the review, you got about 52 reviews, and I mean, did you sell 52 books? No. So that doesn't make sense to me.
No.
How does that make any sense? Like, yeah, so it does happen. And, it's good to bring up the topic on the show, especially, you being a publisher, to advise others out there, just be careful, due diligence. Like, I mean, take the name, especially look for the domain, if the domain makes any sense to you, and Google the name. And some of these names, I mean, you can clearly see that it's made up, you know, like, yeah, and key point you mentioned there. Somebody is asking you for money up front. Think twice. But
Yeah.
and as it
Yeah. Sorry.
finish.
No, I was just going to go back to the point that there's nothing like just building organic connections. Another thing that a lot of people they overlook is building an email list. No one can take away your email list. I mean, just look at TikTok when it was shut down for a little bit. I mean, people here were losing their minds because their stuff was monetized. But if what I explained to my authors, if you have an email list, no one can take that away from you. You will have those people who you can build in as your audience, and those people will be loyal. And don't get worried if they leave, because you really want people who are going to stay and who are going to be heavily invested in you.
Yeah, 100%. We don't focus on the audience right in front of us, because we always want to grow, which is not a bad thing. Everybody wants to grow their audience, but I mean, if you focus on that 50 people right in front of you who are staying true and, like you said, loyal to you all the time, don't lose that connection with them. Yeah. So one final question. Any author listening to the show right now that fits in with your principles and values, do you have this? Okay, yeah, anyone can reach out to us.
Absolutely. So we have two submission periods. We have a submission period in January and in July. And so in July, we'll be looking at new projects. and looking at authors that we would like to work with. And we publish a multitude of genres. The things that we take into consideration is our reads are typically clean. So we don't have gratuitous violence and sex in it, and profanity. But I'm all about, action. It can be gritty stuff. I'm fine with grit because I write with grit. It's hard to write a thriller without being gritty and dark. So I don't mind that. But we're very open. And we have started doing children's picture books as well. So if you've got something that you feel is publishable, I would love to hear from you.
And going back to the whole international, so someone sends in, would you take that into consideration?
Absolutely. Yes. We absolutely. As long as it's written in English. As long as it's written in English, then we are good to go. But we're always looking for self-help books. If you've got a niche and something that you're an expert at, we'd love to hear what your ideas are. We love YA. We love speculative fiction. I would love to pick up a dystopian book. I'd love to see some sci-fi. I absolutely love sci-fi and dystopian. I don't write it, but I absolutely love people who write it. And so I am looking for that. And I'm always looking for romantic suspense and thrillers.
Okay, nice. Thank you for sharing. I think your comment about English, I'm going to laugh about it tomorrow as well. I wasn't expecting that. As long as it's in English, reminding all of you out there, make sure it's in English. Catherine, is there anything else that you would love to share that we did not mention on the show? Other plans for 2026?
Yeah, plans for 2026. Plans for 2026 is to produce our first set of hardcover books. It's going to be fun. We're aiming to do that for the fall in time for Christmas shopping. And we are really excited about all of the books coming out. And some of our authors have some neat things, some neat add-ons. Like we've got a book called The God Hunter coming out, and they have like an interactive game for children to play. We have a speculative fiction author. He's got like a coloring book that he sends out free to people who purchase this book. And it goes on and on. We also have something that's really fun. Every one of our authors gets an online book launch. And we also have like all these giveaways that come out at the book launch. So if you want to check out my newsletter, you got to subscribe, but it's a fun place to hang out. I promise you. And in the newsletter, it gives you the date and the link to the next launch where you can come and connect with other people who are like-minded, who like reading, and meet some people, network, and maybe win some prizes. It's so much fun.
Nice. And how can we sign up for this?
Yeah, you just go to our website, which is just a www.Dr. Katherine, Katherine, Hayes, Hayes.com. And there are all the things, the links to the publishing company, and also the links to how to do a submission and when we're looking for submissions.
Nice. Okay, I will definitely share that in the description. When I was checking out the website, besides the authors, that I've already spoken to, there was one that stood out to me, but I guess more the topic stood out to me. Not sure if I'm pronouncing her name correct, Kashe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So focused on gun violence.
Yes, that her book is a memoir, and it is. She's recently gotten a lot of attention because her story was picked up by a YouTube podcast called the La Fe Testimonies, which has millions of viewers. and has a massive community. And so her book is a tough, beautiful read. She makes it, we are able to digest it and see life through her eyes. But her partner was killed in front of her and her children. He was the victim of a mistaken identity in a gang war, and in broad daylight, an assailant emptied a clip into the car where her boyfriend and their young children were in the back. And because she jumped in the back and shielded the kids, they lived, but she was riddled with bullets. And so she still lives with a bullet lodged in her hand. She had to have her face reconstructed, and her healing journey was very, very painful and very long. And she still suffers from PTSD and issues, but she's getting through. But thank you for bringing attention to her, because she's near and dear to our hearts, and we're looking forward to really big things from her.
Yeah, hopefully I get to chat to her in
Yeah,
future.
that would be
Yeah,
great.
not only on this show, but I mean, just as what you just explained now, I guess, automatically I just know how to pick them, or something relates to me that is so
Yes.
critical in the world today, suffering with PTSD. And on another show, we also focus, on mental illness and
Right.
suicide and gun violence does, you know, come out a lot. So, yeah, that this stood out to me. So you got, wow, you know, your range of authors currently. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. Yeah. Well, Catherine, thank you so much, and well done to you. Honestly.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you for making a place for authors and creatives. It's really important for us to be able to be in a credible space where we get to network and share and help each other.
Yeah, 100%. And if it's not for individuals such as yourself coming on, nothing I do will be successful. But the space is there. This goes back to what we spoke about at the start of the show. This
Yeah.
space that we are creating globally together, is available for all creators out there who are listening. So if you ever feel that there's no hope for me, or there will never be an opportunity for me, or I'm not good enough, or nobody notices me or my work or what I want to write about, there is. There is.
Mhm.
And all you have to do is reach out. My contact details personally are all over. Anyone can reach out to me, you know? Anyone at all. Like, whether it's the podcast and you want to come on and you want to talk about your life, your work, or whether it's my radio show and you want to share your first DJ mix or this first track I've done, which, is not at its best quality, I
Yeah.
will play it.
Oh,
I will
wow.
play it. That's just the type of person I am, because I know what it feels like. I've come from there. You know, everybody or every radio station wants the best hits. You know, so
Right.
how are the guys supposed to actually, work on their craft or get better if you're not going to give them an opportunity? I remember the first DJ mix I put together once upon a time in my life, and I still listen to it. And then I compare it to the mix I can put together now. It's completely different, but
Right.
that humbles me, because that's where I started. The mistakes I made has perfected my mix today,
Wow.
because somebody gave me an opportunity.
Yeah.
So the space is available. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's there.
Mhm.
Yeah. Captain, once again, thank you so much. And I wish you all the best for 2026 and
Yes.
fun with that.
Same to you. Yeah. Praying for big things for you, Kino.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Right back at you. And a new trend on my show now, we never say goodbye. It's catch you later, because just
That's
like us two, we never know when we're going to see each other again.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Captain, check later.
Okay. Yeah. And Jamaicans like to say, walk good. Walk good. So walk good. Catch you later.
Well, good, catch you later. Okay. Yeah, we're adding something else to it now. Well, good, catch you later. All right. Catch you later.
Catch you later.